Having a fund, a collective pool of money to fund these organizations could help foundations say that we're doing this as a field, that this is a real new venture for philanthropy to move in this field. And second, it would provide a more stable source of funding for these groups that are so vulnerable and dependent on philanthropy to have this constant source of fund making. The other really interesting idea that the foundations had was, what if the nationals, instead of parachuting into a place like Chicago or Mississippi and saying, we're here to help and we're here to help grassroots organizations, that they could really approach their peer funders in local settings and say to local foundations that we are very interested in supporting this work, but we want to do it in a way that meets your goals, that really fits in with your strategies. So can we partner? So the idea of the nationals saying, for every dollar you put into this, we'll match it, became this very creative and practical solution for getting more money into grassroots groups and to have some real genuine partnerships between national funders and local funders.
The CPER model, the Communities for Public Education Reform consortium of funders coming together to fund particularly organizing efforts of parents and youth, we see as a critical element to the work that we do. One of the things that people often say is that we've got folks who are prepared to do this work, but do we have an organized set of funders who are prepared to invest in the kind of infrastructure that's necessary? We talked a little bit about the infrastructure that's necessary at a community level that allows people to think, have access to data, have access to people that can help them to translate their ideas into policy and practice initiatives, that can help them organize campaigns, know the political levers that are necessary, the power they need to build. One of the things that CPER has done with us, and we're very excited about it, is to figure out how to create cohorts of community organizing efforts across the country to learn from each other about what's successful around some key issues that are going on.
The CPER Collaborative has been one of our more robust funds with lots of funders. You know, there are probably 50 funders right now. Is we provide opportunities for local funders and national funders to actually work together. Each one plays a role. The national funders can fund things that the local funders can't, and the local funders can reach groups in a way that the national funders can't. National funders, oftentimes they may be funding national groups, you know, groups that are much bigger, not smaller groups. They may not be able to fund because of their own restrictions in their foundations, very local efforts, either state efforts or very local efforts, or groups of a certain size. Mm-hmm. Some of the foundations have requirements that the groups have to be a certain size or they're national in scope. Mm-hmm. For the state and local funders, oftentimes they're restricted to a geographic area and they don't have the resources to fund national groups. So what we try to do, and the CPER Collaborative is a good example, is look for groups who are national in focus, groups who are very local in focus, and the funders pool their money and we fund a whole cross-section of groups. And if they were operating on their own, each of these foundations would not be able to get at the cross-section of groups that we support through these collaborative funds.
What CPER does different than other collaboratives, it's the most intense. I've been in philanthropy for over 20 years. It's the most intensive collaboration I've seen because there's so many parts to it. It's not just a pass-through for money. It's very hands-on. The support that is given to the grantee organizations, and to me that's the most important thing, is just unbelievable. It is so much added value. The networking, the relationship building that has happened I think for all the CPER grantees across the country is just key, is one of the, I think, big successes. If CPER were to go away tomorrow, because of its duration, because of its longevity, there have been relationships established, you know, between groups, youth groups in Chicago, Denver, and California, New York, Mississippi. Those would not have been there if these pooled funds had not allowed all this to happen. Capacity building, I mean, that's, you know, in the early stages, will this build the capacity of the individual organizations? Absolutely. When you have a dedicated stream of dollars that you know is going to be there for a while, an organization can build on that, and CPER has allowed them to do that. It has definitely built that capacity.
I think the collaboration that CPER encourages and affords is really powerful on a couple levels. I've worked in California almost 10 years around education issues. And so over that time, many of our CPER colleagues were partnering before CPER came to California. But what it's done is create a space to deepen that, to provide some infrastructures that connect what have been sort of disparate efforts together, which is powerful. We never have enough time, right? So to be able to maximize our capacity is really critical. The other thing it's done that you can't overstate is it's connected local groups and statewide organizations. And so next week, in fact, our Bay Area organization, PICO's Bay Area affiliate, and PICO organizations, parents and students in PICO around the state are going down to LA to meet with some of the CPER groups down there. Because they've found through the CPER gatherings, they have many shared concerns and really some innovative opportunities that have come forth in LA that we want to learn from and benefit from in our communities. So it's created this cross-learning that is incredibly powerful. Many of us are facing the same issues locally, so we don't have to reinvent all the solutions, right? We can benefit from each other.
One of the things I say to my colleagues about investing in community organizing is that to solve these intractable social problems, you need a variety of resources. Money is one of those, technical skills is one of those, information research and so forth. But one of those is people. So why would you leave that resource out? Why would you not invest in that resource the same way you would invest in research as a resource to fix an intractable problem? And people are worthy of this investment. They deserve the opportunity to be all that they can be in solving their own problems in their communities. So when you meet with a community person or a community organization, they might not have everything they need to participate fully in the conversation. Maybe they need some training, some skills, some information. Well, then why not invest in them? Help them get those skills, that training, that information, so they become the effective participants and the effective agents of their own aspirations.